Okay, so now if I now do slideshow from beginning, with a bit of luck, you should be able to see the screen now, yeah? Okay, so if I cut this one, I'll be speaking on YouTube. So we just wait to 12 o'clock. It's 12 o'clock now, isn't it? Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's 12 o'clock. Apologies for the slight technical hitch to actually start the show rolling. As per usual, all the planning was in place. We did a run through yesterday. Everything worked great. Of course, when it comes to the live session, things change, but we're all there and all live now. So today's session is really to talk to you a little bit about access control, a little bit about where we are, what the future might be. But before we actually move forward, because I'm going to try and take you on a tour of a typical building. Obviously today I'm presenting from a remote location. My colleague Curtis is actually on the line with us. And if you do have any questions, we'd encourage you to actually use the live chat function at the side. And my colleague will either answer those questions or indeed pass them on to me at the end of the session. But a very, very big welcome to you all. And today, as I say, I'm trying to talk to you a little bit about an access control system, really trying to apply it to a modern building, but in reality to try and take a walk through the building and actually look at something that's perhaps quite similar in some respects, but in other respects I think you will find will be a little bit revealing in terms of what it's capable of, and indeed how we actually apply this to a particular building. But what I would really like to say is this is an access control system, but actually with a major difference. So what's different about Incedo? Well, I think from a starting perspective, we need to understand that Incedo is actually a language. Incedo is the language of the ASA ABLOY access control system. And what it will do is it will provide a platform to allow connectivity for both the complete solution, which is Incedo as an access control solution, or indeed it will create a common language so that all of the hardware that ASA ABLOY presently produce can be integrated within your existing third-party access control solution. It is very much an integration of wireless and wired solutions, and the whole idea here is that we've got the minimum amount of hardware, but more importantly what we are looking at is providing certified options for fire and escape applications and actually get this good, specified, correct, compliant solution all in at a reasonable price. So specification is something that we at ABLOY have done for a very long period of time. And in reality here, the drivers always are compliance. You know, we actually have escape compliance solutions for escape doors. We have fire tested solutions for fire doors. And we actually have fire and escape tested solutions when the door is actually a dual function. But equally, we need to remain flexible in terms of what we do actually offer. High security is very much a buzzword at ABLOY, but this bit aesthetically pleasing are words that I think we should all be remembering on a daily basis, because my view is that if I actually have to press a button to go through a door, we've probably got it wrong. Certainly in terms of an escape door, we've definitely got it wrong. But what this actually allows us to do, it allows us to bring together our wired and wireless access control solutions so that we actually do have a solution for every door. But one of the things that I would like to sort of throw in quite early in the day is actually not all access control solutions are actually a door. There are lots of other things that we may like to secure or would secure if we could, And the whole idea of today's presentation is to actually show you what's actually possible in terms of securing the building. From a starting perspective, our normal starting point will actually be our external door. And of course, our external door may actually have some values. Certainly, the external door will give it a harsher environment. We certainly should be trying to provide a high security fail lock device to give us that perimeter security. We certainly should be considering the dynamic lockdown capability. When we actually look at a building, it's great that we can escape through the escape side of the door, but we can have fail locked security from the secure side in. And dynamic lockdown is something we should be designing into buildings as a prerequisite. And certainly where we've got some of these fail unlock devices, they are particularly undesirable for external doors. We may actually want time-based access, so we need to use some time zones. And we may even want to do something like remote opening. And all of this is actually technically possible within these parameters and these systems. We would actually lead you forward here and say that, look, when we're looking at a high security door, we really should be looking at an electric lock, and this particular electric lock, the EL560 and its family that lives around it, is actually a solenoid or handle controlled electric lock. We actually do have a standard BSEN 179 or BSEN 1125, which means we've got a CE marked and compliant escape device to fit onto escape doors. They are all actually also fire tested. When we actually look at the product, we've actually simplified it. We do actually have products for virtually all applications. This particular one would be more used in a steel door. The aluminium door that we saw on the front of the page, we do a narrow style version. But there's no need to hand this anymore. We actually have a free hand. We can also configure it locally to actually be fail locked or fail unlocked. And we can also actually monitor the handle. So we've got full signaling, including if somebody's used that mechanical key, if your access control system can actually record that as well. But obviously the perimeter door is providing our nighttime security. It may also be providing a facility during the day for the receptionist. So we've actually called the intercom system. Receptionist presses the button, energizes the outside handle, allows us to actually come in. And we're then greeted with a reception area, and we really want our staff and our visitors to feel welcomed. But what we've actually got here is we've got a very, very simple and easy to manage and understand visual display, allowing us to actually update visitors' cards and give people the credentials that they actually need to find their way around the building. So the reception may well be our first stop, and we're actually empowering by actually being able to encode that credential so that we can find an easy access around the building. When we look at the Incedo system, the software is all embedded within the door controller. We've actually got a live information and dashboard. There's obviously a mobile interface so that we can actually do this from anywhere, not just from the reception desk. But what it does do is it allows simple credential management for visitors. And of course also it allows us the visibility of all of our doors and indeed all of our users. But once we've actually gone through the reception area and we've been signed in as a visitor, or we're actually a staff member, our next particular barrier may well be something like a speed gate. And here again, the Incedo solution can actually provide for that, because all we actually have there is a reader that's actually driving our speed gate and allowing us to enter, assuming that we've actually got the correct credentials enabled on our user card. The readers, we can use a diverse technologies. We actually have the ability to be able to use most types of card and actually run this through so that the reader itself can actually be used to control virtually anything. And again, thinking that a little bit further, we may actually have some automatic doors. And of course, with automatic doors, we're going to need automatic door operators. And one of the things we need to be aware of here is that actually the door operator becomes the brains of the door. So our access control system will trigger the input to the door operator, which actually then will say, okay, I have a valid reason for egress, unlock the door because I'm locked, open the door, close the door, and the door will automatically relock. So again, there's no great mystery here. The access control system in Cedo can be integrated into our automatic doors and provide us with that seamless entry as we go through the building. Indeed, from an Abloy perspective, we actually provide an automatic power open, power close unit, which can be used on most applications. We should fire up straight away that we wouldn't be using this on a fire door, because fire doors actually have to have a mechanical close. This is power open, power close. It does give you a great deal of adaptability in terms of controlling the door in both the opening and closing cycle. But very, very simply, this will integrate with any of our locking devices, and indeed the Incedo access control system, simply by providing an input to actually say a valid credential has been presented, and then all of the rest of the magic happens behind the scenes. Once we get past our inner doors, our main entrance doors, our security barriers, and our reception areas, there are lots and lots of doors in a typical building that may still be mechanical. Of course, the reality is the end user would have preferred that they actually had a system where the cards worked on every door. And of course, sometimes this is where the cost becomes prohibitive, because actually a simple mechanical lock and an override cylinder is a lot cheaper than actually wiring and access control enabling the door. And I guess really this is where the wireless element comes in, and we should stay right from the beginning that the wired and the wireless integration with the Incedo product actually all work together seamlessly. There's no real differential between a wired and a wireless product, but what it will do is it will enable us to realize that dream that we actually can control the whole building using our access credentials. So when we actually look at this, we're really looking at something that's quite cost effective. It's very easy to retrofit. And of course, what it will do is it will enable us to make changes, because with the best will in the world, with our traditional mechanical master key system, once the parameters are set, that's exactly how the building is going to be used going forward. So this particular product, which actually is our escutcheon set, is actually available in several different formats. But in reality, this will actually replace most mechanical lever handles and escutcheons on existing lock cases. So it enables you to upgrade that mechanical door from an ordinary door to an intelligent door at a minimal cost. Obviously, there are certain things we need to be aware of. We need to be aware of the distance between centers, the lock case type, but there is a handle to suit virtually all applications. And on the outside of the door, we actually have the reader, which is built into the top of the handle. We actually have a battery pack on the inside, which you can see is actually contained within the handle itself. 30,000 operations on a set of batteries, but we should be servicing our access system once a year, and I would argue it's a good part of the service contract to actually replace the batteries regardless, because then we've got a whole new year of which to use this product. It is a relatively simple application. And of course, what we then have is we then have a wireless hub, and the wireless hub could be one to many. It really does depend on the technology that we're using. It also depends on how we've actually made our connections. But just for this stage, let's actually say it's one to many, because one of the big advantages here is, as we said in the early part of the presentation, is we're looking to put the minimum of hardware in to actually run this system. And that's something we will see as we go through the presentation. Of course, These particular escutcheon sets are actually quite useful for what we might consider as a typical internal door. But as time goes on and buildings have become more aesthetically pleasing, what we found is it's the door style and the door type is changing quite dramatically. And whilst this does provide a solution for quite a few doors, as that marketplace is changing, glass has become the new norm. We all like internal glass doors, and of course that presents a major challenge in terms of access control, not least of which actually getting the power across the door or back to the frame, placing the readers. All of this is quite a challenge. And this is really where we now actually have a solution that interfaces and integrates with the Incedo system, running as a wireless lock. And that actually is simply by replacing the handles on that glass door lock. And you can actually see from this unit that we've actually got a reader embedded into the handle. There is a visual indication. Red, it means that it's not a valid card, and of course green means that you presented a valid card. And the batteries again are on the secure side only, providing for security. But this is a very, very simple upgrade to a quite a common problem, and we've actually got real access control onto a glass door, which again is something that customers are actually looking for. But again, we must say it's actually very cost effective to actually make this upgrade. I did say right from the beginning that not all access control applications or wishes are necessarily doors. And with the Incedo and the wireless range that lives with it, really it's just our imagination that limits our possibilities. There are obvious areas. I mean, obviously the comms room itself, we would be looking to put something quite high security on there. Data is the new gold. It's certainly something that we need to understand. It's an area that we need to manage. We do need controlled access. We do need some traceability. And of course, we need to know who's been in, where, and why. But a very common problem we're coming across in today's marketplace is the IT room is the area where we need to protect. But the man from Dell, the man from the service engineer from from various different companies all need access to that room at different times. And that arguably makes some of those areas vulnerable. And certainly with companies like mobile phone providers, there's often shared data rooms. And once you've actually gained entry to the main door, you are able to secure your racks with these handles. And once again, the handle you can see has got a built-in reader. It's designed to easily upgrade and retrofit the standard lock that's fitted to these data cabinets. But really, it just makes what we may have considered difficult arguably possible, but equally possible and upgradable at a very sensible cost, and also very easy to actually achieve. Equally, there are other areas. Maybe we've got staff cupboards, particularly in the world that we live in now. I'm sure that we're going to see more and more requirements for being able to leave devices somewhere, to be able to secure your personal belongings, maybe as a visitor or indeed a member of staff. And these cupboards are always traditionally difficult to manage. They very often have got keys that actually get taken away. There then is the possibility that they're not overly secure. So we actually do make a cabinet lock, and that cabinet lock can be part of your access control system. And when we actually think about this, most of these devices we've talked about post the external doors have actually all been wireless enabled. So the cost of installation is dramatically reduced because we don't have to wire every individual door. We just use this one-to-many combinations with the hub and the locks. So once again, I'd say the limitation is really just our imagination. Certainly there are other uses within a building, and whilst Incedo itself doesn't actually have lift control, what we can do is we can actually use the Incedo reader to actually provide for lift control. Everything's actually possible. It's really just a question of using the relay output to control what we need it to control in the building. But once again, we can do this without wires. And that really does help in terms of keeping the cost of the installation down. So I think we've already discovered that access control isn't just for doors, and there is an argument that we could actually say that the other applications I've shown you so far are all variations of doors, maybe not the lift control. But of course, the way that we're actually going to do this is actually with this output. So we do actually have a relay that can control anything we want it to do. So the only thing that's limiting us in terms of what we can and what we can't control is our imagination. And certainly, again, we could actually have an interface with the alarm panel. All of this is possible because it's all about just using those relay outputs and the wireless feeds to actually make sure that it works the way that we want it to do. Nothing particularly different here. We're actually looking at our reader, we're looking at our control unit, and we can see how easy that is to actually interface and actually bring that together. We are able to offer lots of other things that work with it. You know, Incedo does offer us this basic platform. Aperio, which actually is the wireless element, offers us the ability, particularly with Incedo, to make all of these devices work within your existing OEM system. When we're actually looking at today's world, you know, hands-free may become more and more important. I mean, certainly we're seeing more and more automatic doors on buildings. Sliding doors have become very, very popular. We may actually have these doors as free access during working hours, perhaps between 9 and 5, allowing the flow of people in and out of the building. But then using a time zone, we can actually change the state of the operator so that the doors are automatically locked down. We can even offer a lock that's designed for sliding doors. It's a motorized lock. So this would provide us with final security, particularly on an external door where we actually know we have a high security lock that's only going to lock out of hours. So again, everything is actually possible. We also actually have situations where we need to do something different on an escape door. And I would always say to you that where we want to electrically control an escape door, we need to always be careful. We need to ask ourselves the question, do I justifiably need to do that? Because we should never block an escape door unless we don't have any other choice. But we now do have a new British standard, BSEN 13637, that covers electrically controlled escape doors. And the Incedo product range can actually seamlessly integrate with the 13637 solutions from our sister company, sold and supported by Abloy UK, FF. So we can actually provide a compliant security system that provides for read-in, read-out applications and also time-sensitive escape. And of course it controls these escape doors, but probably one of the most important bits it gives us here is it actually gives us the ability to actually provide additional out-of-hours security. Where we actually have an escape door where we want to read in, read out, the traditional solution would have been something like we saw on the last page there, which actually is our lever handle that provides escape to BSEN 179. It's free at all times and allows us to escape. And we overlay the additional escape terminal to BSEN 13637. And when we actually read on that door, the power is broken to the secondary lock. The handle allows us to go through the door, and we obviously read in a normal manner. If there is an emergency, this is interfaced to the building's fire alarm system, which automatically means the door is free. Pull the handle down and we will escape. And if there is a local situation, we actually press that red button, which is a virtual button in the middle of the screen. All hell lets loose because all of the alarms go off, but we are actually safe to escape through that door. And they are actually called technically independent solutions. And then there is the option these days to actually use a technically dependent solution, which actually means that you've got the iPad element built into the panic bar. So again, it is a two-handed escape, but that's perfectly compliant under 13637. Push the bar, push the button, we escape, push the button, push the bar, we actually escape. So all of these things are possible, and the control of them is possible through the Incedo lock-in system. We've mentioned quite a few of our products within this portfolio. We clearly have the good, tried and tested and reliable wired access control solutions, particularly the EL460, EL560 handle controlled locks that provide us with a secure solution for those external doors. Can be configured fail locked on the secure side, but always provides for safety in terms of escape from the escape side. But as we move into the building, we're looking more for convenience devices, and our convenience device may well be one of our wireless products that we've actually shown. We certainly do actually have additional products there. I mean, there's the electronic wireless cylinder. Again, we can be a little bit skeptical there because, it's actually a Euro profile cylinder with a knob on one side and arguably a reader on the other side. I've got to be honest and say that I've had my mind changed because, I considered that to be not necessarily the most secure. Well, it's never going to be secure, but the one thing it actually does is it provides for flexible and reliable access control solutions for some of those difficult to reach and difficult to control areas. We do actually have a range of locks that will work on double acting doors, the FF351. We also actually have a wireless version of our favorite EL460 560, which actually is the Aperio enabled Abloy locking mechanism, the L100. It's available with both standard and narrow styles. And of course, complementing to that, we have the full range of FF electric strikes, and certainly some very specialist electric strikes for some specialist areas, all of which can be controlled within this Incedo ecosystem. So now when we're actually designing this system, one of the things that we need to think about here is how we actually split the wireless and the wired locking units. We do actually have a choice. There is a metal box unit and there also is a plastic box unit. But the master controller here is capable of running up to 2 doors if they're read-in free egress, or 1 door for read-in read out. But we can connect an additional RS485 hub to it, which actually means that this one box doesn't just control 1 door. And certainly, we've all seen many applications where there are 30 boxes in the corner, 30 door controllers running a 30 door system. It's technically possible here to actually do this with just a few door controllers. 1 door controller being the master controller, and then we actually work slaves in from there on in. There's actually no software to be loaded because this software is actually embedded. And at the moment, this will give us up to a 32 door system. But once we actually reach our 32 door system, what we can actually do then is we can then take that onto Incedo Cloud, which gives us the ability to do as many doors as we actually wish and actually run it as a cloud hosted solution. More about that a little bit later, because certainly that's coming as one of our presentations a bit later on today. But the master controller here will actually allow us to put up to 8 hubs, so 8 Aperio hubs onto each master controller. And what that will also do is that will allow us to run up to 30 wireless locks from our existing controller. So our one controller could actually manage that building where I mentioned there were 32 boxes all in a cupboard with a single box. We can actually add up to 4 reader modules into this master controller. So effectively this 2 reader output door controller can actually have an additional 4 boards put in it, which means that we've got much more capability from just this one particular box. We've already established that with the Incedo light system we can have a maximum of 32 readers. These can be 32 online doors, they can be just a single online door, and then up to 31 of the Apereo units all tagged on. But very, very simply, we actually have our master controller. We can then run a RS485 network to a slave controller and to another slave controller. We just change the dip switches because it's actually the same unit. And of course, we can run our 8 hubs from our master controller, again by selecting our dip switches on the configuration board. And by using this combination of opportunities, we're able to reduce the hardware in a building to the absolute minimum. And it's not just space, it's more about the fact that we've got this wireless capability. So we can actually get that master controller in the right place, and we can run our 485 network and create our virtual network to run the rest of the building. It does of course allow us to expand, because we can expand with the addition of extra boards. We can expand with the addition of our RS485 wireless network. But then again, once we reach that magical number of 32, we can expand above the 32 because all of this is backward compatible. So our Incedo light system can easily become an Incedo cloud system. All we actually do is we change the parameters and the information is then actually stored in the cloud. So today was really just to try and give a vision, and the vision really is that, look, when we come to use that access control system, we can have the best access control system in the world, but actually if my interface with that access control system is an ugly magnet on the top of the door, which we haven't touched on compliance particularly today, but certainly shouldn't be used on an escape door, and I've got a big green button I've got to press to go through the door, it really doesn't set the system off in a good light. But actually it's got a lever handle that we're used to using, so we know we pull the lever handle down. There's a reader there which I'm used to using, so I show my credential, which I'm quite comfortable with. But the point I'm trying to make here is the interaction and the quality of the system is measured by what's surrounding it and what's controlling it. Not least of which, to go back to the basics, which actually is that an escape door needs an escape compliant device, which for EM179 will be a lever handle or a paddle handle. If it's a panic escape door, it will be a panic bar. Just because we want an access control door doesn't mean that we can butcher and convert an existing mechanical door to actually suit our new design, because that door was an escape door before we started. It needs to be an escape door when we finished. That door was a fire door before we started. It needs to be fire compliant when we finished. And that's really where we've got the benefit with these range of accessories that connect to the access control system, because all of that work's been done. We're not changing the use of the door, we're just changing how the door works, but we're never blocking escape and we're never compromising fire safety. That really is a subject for a different course and a different presentation. But what it leads me to is, this is just the beginning. We actually have a very, very basic access control system or offering that allows us to interface with our OEM partners. It allows us to actually provide a wired and wireless system all working together to fit the customer's needs. There is a massive range of ancillary components connecting it together. There is a big vision for how the system grows and develops. But more importantly, there's a lot more to that, because now we actually have this common language called Incedo. What we actually can do is we can bring in lots of other things to the party. Most good access control systems should actually have a mechanical key override. We know that electronic products will go wrong or power will not be available. So we always need that emergency key. Sure, we've been able to monitor it on our wired locks for many years. Most people don't. But what we can do is we can take this a little bit further with electromechanical keys. And okay, currently we've got the Abloy Protect Click range, we've got eClick. All of that will gradually interface and live within the Incedo system. But there is something very new here, which actually is Pulse. Now, Pulse is a product from Assa Abloy that works on kinetic energy. We've not talked too much about energy saving, but when we look at a magnet that's drawing a current for 24 hours a day, except for the period of time that it's actually open when we presented a card, and compare that with an electric lock that does exactly the opposite and uses probably half the current, we could argue that the electric lock is already quite green, and it actually is. The keys that we use currently with our electromechanical keys are relatively green. But this kinetic energy brings a whole new level, because the very action of pushing the key into the cylinder generates the power from a dynamo type format, which allows the credential to communicate with the cylinder. But again, all of this can be controlled through the Incedo system. That's nearly with us. We will also actually have the offline capability for the wireless or the Incedo product, again, coming this year. Mobile keys, they've been around for a little while, and certainly the integration with BLE technology is nearly with us. Gradually, our handle sets, all of our Aperio products, will be BLE enabled, certainly during 2021. And what this will do is it will give us 100% coverage of the mobile key. But, the mobile key is something that has been around for a while. But I think really the current situation that we're living in, certainly the COVID-19 era, this technology has really taken quite a leap in terms of its popularity. Well, that's something that we can offer right now, and certainly even though we're offering a basic system, we have the ability to actually use these mobile keys within our access control offerings. But again, it doesn't stop there, because our digital access solutions will be growing beyond 2021. But the big thing to actually think about here is, we've got quite a few of these products that live around the peripheral as it stands right now. But wouldn't it be good if we could actually understand our master key system from our access control software? Well, arguably we can do that quite quickly, because Incedo will interface with the Assa Abloy key management software. But what if we could take that and make it part of your OEM access system? Everything's possible and it's all gradually growing, but I think the one big message from this slide really is that what we are trying to do here are bring together all of our product portfolio, and rather than all of those products working on software that's similar but different, and as an integration route for every one of these technologies, the whole idea here is that we have a language called Incedo, and they all automatically talk Incedo, which means that they can be integrated from inception. So really, the opportunities are, without doubt, endless. It's more a question of our imagination. If you want to control it, we probably can now, but certainly in the very near future, we definitely can. So where that leads us to really is that, look, I hope that we've given you a little bit of an overview of how we think the access control world might change. I think we have a definite need for less physical hardware. Maybe that box is ticked. We have an absolute need for wireless and wired devices to actually all work seamlessly. I think we tick that box. We do also have a need to actually provide a solution for virtually every application. Well, we'll never make every application, but we're certainly well on the way. And with the development of those solutions and this common language, it will gradually become a bigger and more complete solution. We need to be able to read the current technologies. And I think we also need to understand that the mobile phone has actually become king. And I do think we all think that the future will be with mobile credentials or mobile keys. Well, we've actually started from that perspective. But most importantly of all is we need to design a building that's safe. And life safety can only be realized if we actually fit the correct devices on the correct doors. And however we dress our access control system up, whether it is the best system in the world, sings, dances, makes the tea, does everything, or whether it just opens the door, the measurement of how good your access system is the interaction between the user and the system. So we got the key, we actually got the credential right. Maybe it's mobile, maybe it's a card, maybe it's a Dallas tag, quite old-fashioned technology, but the credential we're quite comfortable with. But when we come to the door, is it a nice handle that lets us through? Or do I have to press a big green button? If I need to escape, will the door allow me to escape legally? Or do I have to break a glass, which is technically illegal? The beauty of Incedo is it covers all of this, and it's all from a one-stop supplier. So Abloy UK are the digital and access solutions choice within the United Kingdom for ASSA Abloy. And what we're able to do here is offer you a complete solution that's tried, tested, compliant, easy to install, minimum of hardware, at what I would describe as a reasonable price. Because when we actually look at the typical systems where I've explained where the interface, the user interface is not necessarily the best, because we actually have the ability to cut down on the wiring, because we have a solution that is easily retrofittable, there is an argument to say it may be very cost effective against an also ran system. So really that's my little bit finished. I will take any questions, Curtis, if there's any that need to be asked. Okay, well, look, thank everybody for attending today, and I will leave you in peace and look forward to meeting with you all soon. Thank you and bye-bye.